Welcome everyone, this is Planet Needles and you're listening to LOTRO Players News, where we take a look at the latest news in LOTRO and here at LOTRO Players. And this week we have with us Terry Adwin.
Hi.
Guarendis.
Hello.
Arendis.
Hey everybody.
Calabathian.
Y'all, it's hot up in my house, but hello.
And Krister.
Hello.
Hello everyone, and today we have another round of horror previews for Update 30.
Round 2. Ding ding.
Yes, round 2. So of course they continue to test the fall of Khazad-dûm, and a little bit more on the skill balance work was of course being done.
Man, they didn't have it open very long at all this time, did they?
What, it's opened up from
Thursday to Friday.
No, that was the second up. They had two open windows this week. They had the original opening on Tuesday. Yeah, it opened up on Tuesday, then they did some testing, and then they did several updates on Thursday.
Okay, because I mean on the boards it just says server opening and closing for like preview number 2. So
yeah, I think they were talking about preview number 2 for this week or so, because they had. Okay, it was preview number 2. I guess you could say A and B. I guess. Anyway, on the Durham's Bane encounter, they had several updates to that, but since that's a raid that they're tweaking, I'm not going to go into what all they were doing in there. But here are some other changes in raids and instances. Remerhant, the Net of Darkness, Shelob, enraged timer increased to 20, 21, 22, 23 minutes on the T1, on the T2, T3, T4, and T5 respectively. Bar Nernath, the Houses of Lamentation, slightly lowered the damage of Torrent, Flints, and Shadowburst. All boss and encounter monsters in level 130 group instances have had their damage outputs reduced to offset the adjustments to player cast outgoing damage debuffs. And the damage changes for instances Shadow Roost, the Harrowing of Morgul, Shakalush, and the Stair Battles and Remerhant additionally reduced the damage for several tank dots on Shakalush.
As for Shakalush. Continue. I'm sorry. Just, reminiscing.
Yes. As for revives, raid revive counters now decrement on revives accepted rather than on revives cast, and I think a lot of people are happy with that because...
Yeah.
Yeah, because, okay, at least that means that someone doesn't foul up everybody if they revive someone who doesn't accept it. Tier 1 raid difficulty no longer activates revive counters, so it'll only affect tiers 2 and up. The max revive counter is now 5, and various difficulties now start with additional revives, and timers have been adjusted. So T1 is no longer applicable. Tier 2, 3 revives you start with, and they add a new revive every 60 seconds, up to the max of 5, and of course, it could be reduced if someone actually uses one. Tier 3, you start with only 2 revives, and they add one once every 2 minutes. At Tier 4, you start with 1 revive, and you get a new one every 3 minutes. And then at Tier 5, you start with only 1 revive, and you get a new one every 4 minutes. As for quests, Azanul Bizarre quest Ghost Hunting. This quest now properly complete, and the War 3 Peaks quest, A Crack in the Iron Crown. Bondruth Adderfang has been reduced to signature difficulty.
Wimps.
And in housing, when you sell a premium house, you will now receive 90% of the purchase price on premium housing writs, up from 70%. And as for on the preview servers, Wilson and the Isengard doesn't really matter since that's preview only. So those are the updates that we have on there. Now, they're also doing a little bit more balance work. For the Bjornings, cooldowns on non-combat res was reduced from 20 seconds to 1 second.
Ouch.
Expose is now a target debuff that increases the incoming damage of melee by about 7.5%, ranged 5%. In human form, it buffs tactical and ranged instead. Vigilant Roar no longer taunts by default, only when the first rank of Vigilant Roar trait is taken, much like Biting Edge. Vicious Claws, tank version only, can no longer miss nor be blocked, parried, or evaded. And increased damage on the following skills: Slam, Nature's Vengeance, initial hit; Beast Form, initial hit; Vicious Claws, particularly in Redline; Grizzly Cry; Vigilant Roar; Thrash, particularly in its lower tiers; Expose, Bash, and Execute. For the Burglar!
You know you only have to read the purple ones, right?
You
know you only have to read the purple ones, right?
Let's see. Right. Oh, and the turquoise ones.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, and the turquoise one. Very well. On the Burglar, fixed disabling attack trait, speed bonus, LI bonus to adult tactical damage reduced to 5%, unimbued bonus by induction time reduced to 16%. Burglar Bob and Weave and Relish Battle traits heals both tick faster. And Trickster version of Burglar skills are now named and described as such.
That's handy.
Let's see. No new changes from last week on the Captain or the Champion. For the Guardian, protection by the sword group melee damage buff increased from 2% to 5%. For Lore Masters, bump the base debuff value of Fire and Frost Lore back up a bit from 5% to 10%.
They're still whining.
For minstrels, anthems should now be raid wide.
Very nice.
And Anthem Award, unimbued LI bonus to physical ranged reduced about 10 to about 5%. Anthem Award base tactical reduced from 15% down to 10%. For Runekeepers, further adjusting skills damage to find a better balance between Smoldering Wrath and other fire skills. Smoldering Wrath CD increased from 15 seconds to 17 seconds. Essence of Flame CD decreased from 15 to 12 seconds. Induction on Essay of Fire decreased from 2.5 seconds to 2 seconds. And damage of smaller fire skills increased. And Modifying Flame no longer stacks different tiers on a single target. And that's it for the class balance changes that were from this week. We'll see if there are any new ones added next week. Or whenever their next update is. Any comments on what we've read from the patch notes?
Mm-mm.
Just that I realized I misheard what you said, Pineleaf. The cooldown on non-combat res was reduced from 20 seconds to 1 second. I totally misheard that. So I reacted incorrectly. So
Yes,
sorry.
I thought it was a rather strange reaction.
I know, I totally misheard that and thought I didn't hear the reduced bit and I didn't hear the 20 seconds bit. So it sounded to me like it had been increased. So my bad. I'm happy that the cooldown has been reduced.
Cooldown reduced
Sorry,
from 20
guys.
seconds to 1 second. Oh no!
I know. Sorry, guys. Long day. Yes, that's a good thing. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Oh, boy.
Anyways, please continue, Pineleaf.
Yes. They also had some testing on the landscape difficulty. session of that. Now, right now, the landscape difficulty is being granted at the Isengard through a quest in there. I will presume that it'll be done in a completely different way when they have it all ready for live. And we had an article by Squirrel that went into this landscape tier 3 info, because there are several tiers that they have on the difficulty. You have normal, and then you have the increased difficulty from 1 to 9 above that, where 1 is hard, 2 is called dangerous, 3 is called deadly, then they have deadly plus 1, all the way up to 9, which is deadly plus 6. And Scroll goes into what's going on there. LOTRO's landscape quests have been tuned towards everyone being able to complete them, which leaves the challenge of leveling at those handicapping themselves to a stick or baking pies or something like that.
I would say with the caveat, except for the most recent War of Three Peaks, because that landscape sucked.
Yeah, there are some landscape areas where I think that has not quite been the case.
Also, original Mordor was pretty challenging, too.
Oh, original Mordor was... I'm not too fond of even current Mordor.
Well, they've softened it up a little bit, but I still haven't taken anybody through there, because I went through it once. It's all I really needed to do. But I guess some people do really think that the landscape is too much of a face roll, so good on you if this is your thing. This is not my thing.
Yeah. Because I remember that right now, level 105 is not the face roll it was back just before Mordor was released. I think they upped it at some point, because this is my first time doing 105 stuff, and it is either A, the character I had at 105 originally was a lot better than what I have that I'm taking through it right now, or B, they upped the difficulty significantly since then. But in any case, yes, I know there are some people who could just waltz through the landscape difficulty, or they want to be able to take a full fellowship through the landscape without making it really easy. Because, let's face it, when we take a full fellowship through the landscape, for example, during the field trips, we go through the field trips, we pretty much just rip through the area. Now, admittedly, the field trip group is a rather casual group, so we might not, if we do bump it up, we're probably not going to bump it up by all that much. Simply because it's a casual group, and we're not exactly a hardcore rating group or anything like that. But I can understand why some people, especially if they're going in group, or if they're maybe taking a raiding party through, or, of course, we have the little difficulty, the joke saying the burglar doesn't have a chance to even prepare for his first strike before the mob is dead whenever we run into a mob, sometimes during the Friday night fights. And not Friday night fights, I mean the field trip. So that's another reason why you might do this. Either A, your top tier player soloing, or 1 or 2 people might be wanting to bump it up, or if you are going in there with a group and want to be able to have a little challenge for your group in there.
Or you just want to be able to call the difficulty of that particular landscape that you've gone through, like septuple death. I have septuple death. Death plus 6.
Well, there is that.
I mean, it's normal, hard, dangerous, death plus 1. I mean, deadly is death. So yeah, it's like in double death, triple death. It's, yeah.
Dead, deader, deadest, even more dead.
He is
really dead.
Beating the greasy spot where my dead body used to lie.
Burning the greasy spot where your dead body used to lie. Spreading the ashes of...
Yes. Now, what happens is that the damage that you deal gets decreased. So, Squirrel has provided tables showing the damage that you do relative to normal, and also the damage that you take relative to normal. For example, at normal, of course, it's 100%. Then at dangerous, which is the tier 2, it's 57% damage that you're doing, and you're taking 200% damage. So essentially, your damage is halved.
And then down at deadly +6, you're doing like 16.7% damage, and you're taking 900.1% damage. Yes, no.
Double death.
Like,
yeah.
I could maybe try it once on Terry. It's probably the only character I would do it on, just to test myself, but pass.
But yes, I have a feeling that you're not going to try to take on 12 mobs at a time in deadly +6.
I might.
I don't know. She's a champion.
Well, and does the loot scale up too? I mean, do gold helmets just
probably
pour
not,
off the...
No, the loot probably scales improportionately, so you get worse loot the higher up your difficulty is. Like, they don't want to actually incentivize this for anybody. This is just for those people who complain that the landscape is too hard.
Well,
yeah, deadly +6, the loot that drops is like,
if you manage to kill the thing, you get a jade gemstone.
Yeah.
I was going to say you owe the mob money. Like, you have to pay.
That's right.
I killed you. Yeah, well, you got to pay for our hospital bills, okay?
You get a jade gemstone. You know why? Because the jade gemstone is not a task item, so it doesn't sort into your task bag. So it's going to sit there, taking up inventory space.
Yeah, right. Actually, what you do get are titles. They have title.
But only for the first 3 tiers. I mean,
well, yeah. What they do, yes, they have, because they figured deadly is deadly, and it was too much of a. They think it would be too much strain on their title system if they had individual titles for every single one. Now,
but we'll have septuple death, but we won't give you a title for it.
Right. So you will get their titles. There's one title that's for tiers 1 and 2, though the tier 2 one wasn't working on Volvars, but the first title level is supposed to be for tiers 1 and 2, and then tiers 3 and up, ones that are called deadly, they all have a second level of them. And during testing, someone noticed that a couple of the titles are ones that already exist, so they have to fix those.
I think they should give one for the +6 that just is comma, don't mess with me. It's like, if you can manage to get that title, yeah, don't mess with me.
I survived.
It's the undying.
Yes. So the idea there is, if you can get from level up to level 50 using hard difficulty, I think you have to accept the quest that ups the difficulty for you before you reach level 10. Or by level 10. If you do it by then if you go from 10 to 50 and you reach level 50 that way, then you get Apprentice of X. Then at level 130, if you could get all the way to level 130, you get Adept of X.
Death?
Yeah. Now, if you go into deadly mode, then it becomes Disciple or Master.
See, what I would have done is at the +1 or +2, whichever way they stop on that title, actually have comma survival of the fittest, and then on deadly +6, the comma is the fittest. So I mean, why not?
Somehow, though, I don't think I will ever get the title of Master of Arms on my character, which is level 130, deadly tier.
Master of Arms, because that's all that's left after I'm with you.
I'll be like those arms in the barrels.
Yeah, anywhere that we have dead things, we have like arms, like just the arm crawling, and yeah. Angmar, we have giant arms, and it's just the arm. It's like, what?
I survived Deadly tier +6, and all I got was this lousy jade gemstone.
I thought you were going to say, all I got were these lousy arms.
All I got with these lousy titles. No, I'm sorry. Arms is better. I should not say titles because I'm just jealous because I'm never going to get those. So
Yeah.
I'm just stewing in my saline solution.
Now, Squirrel did take a level 130 Hunter with a Remmerhant Tier 1, Tier 2 gear with about 350k morale and attempted a few scenarios there. First of all, tried a mission set on Tier 9, and that's one thing to note is that these only affect landscape, they affect solo quests, and I think dual quests are allowed, also can be affected there, and missions. And the reason why I decided to include missions in there is because missions don't have a difficulty setting as most instances do. Any 3-player or higher instance will not be affected by these changes. So you went on to a Tier 9 mission. Solo swarm mobs are like standard landscape with any group of 2 normal feeling more like elites, plus signature and dying a few times. He did finish the mission though. In Tier 9 solo Harrow, old build, completely wrecked by first 2 orcs, taking 40 to 60k hits. And Tier 9 120 signature elk managed to kill it, but wouldn't want any ads on it. No, that was a Tier 9 120 signature elk, and he was a level 130 hunter. I'm assuming that the 120 isn't a typo.
If it had been a Tier 9 120 signature moose, everybody would have died. There would just be running and screaming, and then you would know how it feels to be part of the girls. Anyway.
Yes. And Tier 3 group harrow with a Valorant Hunter could take more hits, but wouldn't be able to kill them. Harder than normal Tier 3 Harrowed, I'd say. Alright? And that is it on Squirrel's little discussion on Landscape Tier 3. Anyone else have any comments on difficulty scaling?
Not after Friday with my lore master. We're not going to talk about that.
All right. Let's head into the LOTRO Beacon issue 206, where Fibro Jedi has updated his guide to the Buried Treasure event. So you could check over on his guide on the Fibro's blog. Deca Dumalou has created a housing item preview for update 30. Ooh. Anything interesting that's... looks like some banners, few paintings. Oh, that's right. We also have the whole thing about the indoor hooks update that were also involved. And then next we have, you are invited to experience a wedding, a small piece of LOTRO blogs about a marriage ceremony. A small piece of LOTRO blogs about a marriage ceremony. Okay.
Small piece of LOTRO blogs about. Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Like,
yeah. Small piece of LOTRO blogs about a marriage ceremony. Yes, there it is. In game with music and more. And Shirefest takes place next month on Crick Hollow, and you could see more on the Crick Hollow music vlog. Now for our weekly comment. What is your favorite reward from the buried treasure event?
The
You
horse
really
that I
want me-
still can't get.
Yeah.
I was going to say the horse that Terry can't get, but I have.
Because you still can't barter for this stupid thing.
And I could try to actually get it and send it to her, but apparently it's account bound. So
you can't. Nobody else can send it to me. It's bound to account.
Oh, they don't have gift wrap horses.
No.
The combo of Pan and Rich emotes.
Yes.
Pan first, then Rich. And sometimes then I toss a coin.
I feel like I get the pan emote all the time.
Well, the Rich emote is so much fun.
It is.
Whee!
But all my Bergs have it, and now I don't know who else to give it to.
Glad you weren't Sans, because she would probably create a new alt just to give it to.
I'm not going down that road.
Okay. Anyone else on that? Then let's head to the fan site news. Decadumalo's latest housing contest continues. You can read more about this player-run contest over on their blog. And LOTRO Stream is your first stop to find LOTRO on Twitch. This week, Winnie celebrates a birthday. Big Ed Mustafa quests with a guest. And the Token Professor finds someone down on their luck.
Wait a minute. Why are we not on here?
I noticed that too.
From
We're
last
actually
week.
Not on here at all.
Yeah.
Well, apparently they don't like pickled Balrog.
I guess not.
I must say, they are trying to feature quite a few different things, so it could be they just didn't have room if we're giving them the benefit of the doubt, or they just didn't know how to work in a jar of pickled Balrog, so we'll have to see.
Oh, boy.
Culinary Philistines. Actually, I can't say that because I'm not the best foodie. You guys know, you guys have heard some of what I eat, so let's not even go there.
I didn't realize Ancient Evil was available through DoorDash.
Oh, yeah, DoorDash, Grubhub.
One of
I
those
think you can
secret
even get
menu
through
apps.
Amazon Fresh now.
Excuse me, who ordered the Ancient Evil?
I give up on
It's making
y'all.
a comeback.
I give
Jelly
up on
Belly
y'all.
just released an Ancient Evil flavor, so.
Christopher says nothing thus far in the podcast. Like I do say Ancient Evil is there.
You don't
My
just have
ears
to
perked
say the
up.
name a couple times.
My horns perked up.
Dang, you got 2 Balrog on it? No, I'm
Mary Rose morning songs like DoorDash via the Mordor door. Perfect.
Ooh.
And you got to dash because if you're low enough level when you go through that Mordor door, it's a little hairy.
Oh, it's a dash, all right.
I would say hairy, but apparently it's pickled.
Whoa.
No, that would be
Maybe
more.
it's
Yeah.
hairy and pickled.
Oh.
Let's go on. Also on Twitch, the green-eyed gamer runs the warden. Strimtom tests things on Bulwer, and Fire has a birthday sing-off. Over on YouTube, Louis7 has created a class trait points guide. JP runs the next raid on Bulwer, and David Peters runs a captain.
That doesn't sound very exciting. I'm sorry, Krister, but it really doesn't.
Oh,
Captains are amazing.
I'm just trying to say is a class trait points guide on YouTube, so you're I don't know, that sounds like something that I would think I'd rather have something written down than a YouTube video, especially if you have to skip through to find out which class you're looking at.
it's where and how to get them.
Oh, it's where and how to get them. Okay, now that makes a lot more sense. Because then it'll be a lot easier to show if it's on the video. All right,
And
thank
he's
you.
got timestamps in the description as well for different areas. So if you're looking specifically for like sources of where to find them, you can skip to that part of the video.
Okay. A group of players have created a new LOTRO community Discord. You can read a bit more about the Discord on Twitter. And Learning LOTRO focuses on book class quests, and you can read more about that on the Gamer Reverie blog. And our screenshot of the week, Valkyrie shares this screenshot of the week, wrapping up some rating. Thank you for sending this lovely image. Send your submissions by emailing it to lotro@standingstonegames.com.
Where is that?
I'm actually going to ask. I have no idea where this is.
Yeah, that is
Very pretty. I love the shot.
Yeah, it's
Come on, Krister.
Could
You're
they
the
be in
raven in
that,
the group. Where the heck are they?
Could they be in that, like, Elven Grotto?
What Elven Grotto?
You know, that one where I can't remember now the name of the place it's at. But it's like, the main thing about it is it's elvish, and it is grotto-ish.
Oh, wait. I found this person's Twitter. It does not say where it is, but it says that if this is correct, it's a DIGELON mushroom. Does that ring any bells to anybody?
Digimon? Oh, wait, Digilon. Digilon?
Digimon.
Well, I thought that's what she said. Then I was like, oh, no, wait, that's an L.
Huh.
How do you spell it? Maybe we can find out where this mushroom is.
DIGELON. And they said it's not actually in a raid.
It's part of the
a light in the dark.
Hootbold stuff. The Digilon. I remember doing that it's part of the Estimnet quests, I think, or Wold ones.
Yeah, aiding the estimate. Yeah, and this quest counts for aiding the Wold deed. Oh, okay. This is aiding the Wold for the estimate. Yes, all right, and.
I don't think I ran that one very often. I always ended up in the one with the water that looks like water, but it kills you pretty much instantly. So it must be like toxic petroleum or something. I can't think of the name of that place either. But for the Hootbold repeatables.
All right. Yes, there are a large number of names that I can't remember for the life of me in that area. And that concludes our beacon for this week. So let's then head out to our store sales. And Terry, what's for sale this week?
Well, this week's coupon is a tracking tome now through June 3rd with coupon code TRACKIT. And also 20% off inventory stuff, alt storage, shared storage, inventory slots, and currency cap. Unfortunately, you can't buy more than 120 inventory slots still.
Yeah, I was going to say, who cares about 20% off if I can't buy?
I know, right? Does me no good whatsoever because I've already got 120. I need more inventory.
Backcloth, fishes, wailing,
or fewer jade gemstones.
Well, all I need to do to get a free tome of tracking is to log in on my hunter because the hobbits seem to want to give it to them all the time.
You know, I actually used one of those. I had Terry out in the Wildwood, and since it was not with group stuff, she was doing some of it solo. So I didn't have Pocket Hunter to do tracking, and I was trying to track this critter. And the quest arrow told me that it should be right there, but I couldn't find it. So I popped open my Tome of Tracking, and yeah, I actually managed to nail that sucker.
Oh, that's good. Because whenever I pull out one of those Drownhold compasses, which the fact that I
those
still
only
have,
track men.
Yeah, but even
Well, two-legged critters. They don't track.
Well,
four-legged
finally,
creatures.
do you pull that compass out while you eat a travel ration? It just seems like something ancient and unnecessary to keep on yourself.
I'm not gonna lie, I have several of them in my vault.
let's head into our.
It comes in handy, especially since you can have the vault everywhere now if you're a VIP and you've talked to Wenda.
Yeah. The trouble is that usually when I decide, oh, this is a good time to pull it out, it turns out it's one of those enemies that has 3 different spawn locations.
Of course, yeah.
And it's at the furthest spawn location from me, which is out of range. So why did I bother? Let's head to our site news, where we have another chapter in A Berg's Tale, where I'm sure that Morkendeer is up to sneaky stuff again.
Well, not really. It's a little bit of downtime because we're off Weathertop, and there's recovery and rest, and figuring out where to go and stuff like that. Kind of some interesting stuff there. One of them being a reminder that our lovely Gammer Digweed does actually find Candaith attractive for being a human, like, man type person, and I think Morkendeer is a little bit put off by that. Like, I don't know though. I mean, I think it's more the fact that she's pretending to be his grandma and liking this guy who's much younger, and it's like, stop that!
Oh well.
But he makes it to the Forsaken Inn, right? And then
he does get to the Forsaken
reaction.
Inn. Yes. There's a bit of a reaction with the Forsaken Inn, which is entirely not really necessarily due to, well, I guess part of it is due to the people there and how they treat people, but also to the inn itself. So
yeah, I'm sure he has plenty of comments on the inn.
Yes, it is.
I could just imagine if he were doing Bingo Boffin and he ran into.
I don't think Morkendeer is going to be able to do Bingo Boffin without actually actively slaughtering and murdering poor Bingo before they even get out of the Shire. He's going to be in front of everybody. Bingo is going to be trying to learn how to swim, and Morkendeer is just going to grab him and put him in the water and dunk him and not bring him up. He's just going to drown him.
In all fairness, it didn't even take my elf that long before she kind of wanted to kill him. And she's a hunter. She can port back to Mickle Delving pretty quickly. But dude, make a list. Pack your bag well.
Yeah, I think about that point, Morkendeer would have been like, "You're going without. We're done. You can buy one on the way."
But he's going to be meeting people soon, right? Like more people.
Oh yeah, he'll be meeting some people soon. Yes, yeah. I actually thought I was going to have him meet them here, but I'm trying to kind of move through the Forsaken Inn because it's really it's a bunch of just side quests that are not really that important. So that I can get him to Ostgaruth, because that's where he's going to meet people, is in Ostgaruth.
Ah, right. Okay.
Yeah. It makes more sense for him to meet said people in Ostgaruth than in the Forsaken Inn. If you aren't aware, if you're not aware, the Forsaken Inn has a big gaping hole in the roof.
Well, and they still charge full price.
Yeah. It's like, when do we get? You
don't have to worry about rain. Well, everybody sleeps downstairs in the basement where the weird noises are coming from.
Right.
I was about to say, what do you mean we don't have to worry about rain? We were just on Weathertop in the rain. In a storm. But
it's just frustrating because when I was sleeping in the basement, I heard the weird noises. They charged a line item said entertainment. Those weird noises were entertainment.
Well, they were entertaining anyway.
But no, we've got a storyline now with the Wildwood where we actually rebuild Trestle Bridge. Why do we not have a storyline for the Forsaken Inn where we fix the hole in the roof?
Because then they had to change all the quests to the not so Forsaken Inn.
Well, it could still be Forsaken. Do you know how long? I mean, you've been on that ride from South Bree.
Oh my goodness. Krister, I got it. The whole reason why they charged you for the entertainment was because they gave you the drink first before you went down there.
Those guys are lying. I showed up via the Sinister Cave. I had no pants on whatsoever. Okay, I can prove it.
That line charge was not because of your entertainment. You were entertaining them if you showed up.
Well, I suspect that if they charged him, then they weren't very well entertained. Let's head to our new player question. What's our question this week?
We have a kind of a more technical question, and I wasn't quite sure how to phrase it so that it made sense. But what makes, since we have updates all the time, what makes an update a major whole number versus, or rather than, a decimal? Like update 29, and then suddenly we have update 29.4.
No, we went from 29.1 to 3.
Yeah, I mean, but, we have the very first one that starts the 29s, and then suddenly we have like 29.4, and it can sometimes be, it almost seems like a fairly large...
4.2.1.
Yeah, and it's like, it seems like it may be larger as an update than, it's like, why not update 30 if it's going to be, like... a big one rather than, so just new player question wise, what I guess makes the updates, what gives them the numbers?
Well, usually the whole number goes up when there are significant landscape updates. Either the addition of a new area usually includes an addition of a new area and a significant number of new quests. While the ones with the decimal, most of them are relatively small ones. I know occasionally we've seen some landscape things added on a point update, which is... But I think it's possible I'm trying to think was...
You see my confusion now.
Yeah, but most of them... But usually the bigger updates for landscape or anything like that, when they add a significant new zone, it's going to be... Because update 29 was... adding the Wildwood. That's a significant new area. Mm-hmm. So that deserves a new area. The Blood of Azog is going to be update 30. Gundabad is going to be update 31.
So, from the chat, the whole numbers are supposed to be for actual expansions or big updates. Right. Decimals are for hot fixes and whatnot.
Well, it's more than hot fixes. Because hot fixes
maybe that's more like a dot
the third number. If you see more than 2 numbers, then there's probably a hot fix involved. But it's more like things like small additions that they add in between. I'm trying to think of some good examples of that at the moment. For example, usually they have one of your festivals to add all the new festival stuff. You would have a...
Yeah, those are typically dot updates, but not dot. Dot dots are like little things, hot fixes, and
like fixing bugs
patches.
And stuff like that. Yeah, I try to think of
emergency repairs.
Yeah, I guess you could go through some of the more recent patch notes to,
like update 28.3 that changed scrolls of empowerments and small rep accelerator domes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like, I can't specifically speak for LOTRO and what they decide is worthy of an update, but in the major kind of broader software sense, normally say that you have, like, for example, update 1.2.3, the 1 or the whole number stands for like a major version, like a UI UX change or a file format change. The second number usually represents like a minor feature, a major bug fix, stuff like that. And the third number is usually for like minor bugs or spelling mistakes, stuff like that. So in the broader software sense, there are a couple different ways that you can organize it. It's basically so when you go back to look at different versions, say you had to roll back a version or you wanted to find something that was specific to a version, you can go in there and find it based off of the naming convention.
Like when you need to figure out when stuff broke.
Exactly.
Well, there's always that.
Which versions live in infamy and which ones are, we can continue now.
Yeah, that sort of happens quite a bit in there. But anyway, as I said, they're not completely consistent, but usually, as I said, if there are significant landscape updates, it's probably going to be the major number that's going to be changing, and the second number on the ones in between. Right. Like, for example, one of the things they do is if they add a new raid, very often the higher tiers of the raid come out on the next point updates after that. For example, 28.2 had Tier 5 coming out for War 3 Peak. For the War 3 Peaks raid. But it also had Yule Festival. So those are sorts of things that go together. And also they have some quality of life changes that are also added during those updates also.
All right.
But War 3 Peaks itself was update 28. Since that was a major update. Okay, did we answer your question, or is there anything else?
Yes, you did.
Okay.
I mean, I honestly kind of figured 28, going from 28 to 29 was like opening a new area, something huge, but I didn't quite know where the cutoff was for this is big but not major. It's like, okay, we've opened the Wildwood, but then, okay, now we've opened a new section of the Wildwood. Would that be, 29.3 and then 29.4 opening the new little Wildwood section? And they aren't, I'm just saying. Or would it, actually be okay, when we're going to update on 30, when we open up this whole other area for that hasn't been there before, we're going to include this smaller area of a place that had already been there, that established in Wildwood. We'll just make it, part of 30.1 because it is kind of significant. So yeah, I wasn't quite sure.
I don't know what kind of area are you thinking about?
No, just I'm saying just theoretically.
Yeah,
well, okay.
I think sorry, Pineleaf, go ahead.
Well, I don't think they too often add areas in dot updates, but I think they do occasionally. But yet that's the exception, not the rule.
Yeah, and it's not necessarily even a huge okay, we're going to open up the entirety of Wildwood, but something maybe they opened up this, Wildwood, and then they had plans to have something that is, it's an area of Wildwood inside that area, but it's not, they can't, they wanted to add it later or they add it later. Yeah. So it's not actually a whole new area. It's actually part of a new area, but yeah.
Yeah, something like that. Usually when they do that, it's usually an instanced area where they do something like that, because it's not all that unusual for instances to be added during the point updates following the initial update. In fact, that's happened a great deal on expansions, where many of them, the raids weren't part of the original release, but the raids came out during the first or second point update after that. Right. For example, Ramerhan.
What were you going to say, Irvindis?
Oh, just that I think that the only person who can truly, or the only entity that can really answer that question is LOTRO themselves, because different teams view different things at different values. So what you might think would be a 1.2.3 update, I might think would be a 2.0.1 update. So it really depends on who you talk to. And I think that for what you're specifically asking, I think only the LOTRO team could answer that for you.
All right.
I know. Because I work for a team that traditionally has felt that bumping up the second number was a major change. And you would have to change something so much that it would make everything would be completely incompatible with the release before it for you to go from 1 to a 2 on the first number. So.
Yeah, and I worked for a company where we would jump for 1 dot etc. to 2 dot etc. to 3 dot etc. with very little movement because we were always changing different features of the UI of the product. So it really just depends on the company.
Every company is different on it.
Right.
Let's then head into our week in gaming. And Arendis, what were you up to?
Not much. Let me see. Find the right tab. I have too many tabs open. Here we go.
Like my brain.
I get that. In LOTRO, I just continued leveling up the baby Bjorning. Just still having fun with that. We'll see what happens with all of the changes once that goes live in a little while. Other than that, in ESO, I visited a house party that Guer kind of threw impromptu that may or may not have involved death by cliff diving, which I will not talk about. I will leave for her to discuss.
I don't think that was the only problem, but yes, I will talk about it.
Well, I figured that was like one of the bigger ones. So anyway, other than that, I continued to level up my Dragon Knight and tried to make her a little more tanky. I'm still trying to figure out what kind of build I want and what kind of skills I want. So that's been interesting to see.
Wait, than that, was that ESO thing, the house party, was that going to be when Greymaster was visiting?
I think so.
Or was this a different,
Yes.
is it a different thing?
Yeah,
yes, the
Yes.
slaughterfish. There were slaughterfish involved.
Yes, the slaughterfish. Yes.
Way to spoil it.
I know.
Hey, I just said they were involved. I didn't say how.
Oh,
That's true.
if you're talking about ESO and slaughterfish, you know how a slaughterfish is involved.
She didn't say with whom.
I used to cliff dive all the time at Thulsa Doom's parties.
Other than that, in Civ 6, I picked up an old game, and as with all old games, when you drop them for a little while and then pick them up, I had no idea what I was doing. So that was always that was a time trying to figure out what kind of plan I had, if I had a plan. But that was pretty much my week. I wasn't able to do much this week because of some real life stuff. Calabassian, how was your week?
Well, on Lotro, I went treasure hunting with a Morkendeer, and it netted Heistja a couple new emotes, mostly because Morkendeer already had them. So I sent them over to her, and now she is the proud owner of Gold Panning and Counterfeit. Also, the Academy, when we were running with them, it found us in Tunideer, swimming back and forth along the Barendalf, and apparently that, okay, now I had to fix it in the notes. It was misspelled. I'm like, that wasn't what I typed. The Barendalf, after some archaeological goods, like a group of small Indiana Joneses, except for my high elf, since she's not a little bitty small person, dwarf and hobbit like the rest of the group. I think she's the tall person. Are there any other tall people in that group? I don't believe there are.
Calabathian, what would you call a group of Indiana Jones? Would that maybe be an arc? An arc of Indiana Jones?
Oh my god.
Yes, an arc of them, yes.
Oh, I thought it would be a museum of Indiana Joneses.
Ooh,
Or,
okay.
or grave robbers or something. I don't know, but
He was not a grave robber. He was against that.
yes,
Yes, a whip of Indiana Joneses. Yes.
yeah,
There you go.
a whip. Yeah, there you go. Outside of Lotro, I actually downloaded Among Us for free. It was one of the base game for Epic Games. It was the free game of the day on Epic Games, and someone alerted us to that, and I was like, heck yeah! So I am now the proud owner of the base game of Among Us, and it's time to start murdering innocents.
I thought you only could do that if you were playing an imposter.
Well, you also, as part of the game, in order to try and find the imposter, whenever the group votes that a person is the imposter, you basically put them in the airlock and you shoot them out of the airlock. And sometimes you're wrong. Matter of fact, a lot of times you're wrong. So you're still murdering innocents.
It's like an old Agatha Christie novel, and then there was one.
Yeah. Well, for anyone who's ever actually played the game Werewolf, there's a lot of aspects of werewolf involved.
Yes, it's very definitely a social deduction game.
Mm-hmm. And then I had to remember my naming scheme for my Civ 6 cities when we pulled out an old saved game, because the only city I actually had at the time was called Angel Wings, and it was for India. And I was like, I have no idea. What was my naming scheme? What does Angel Wings mean? And it turns out it was actually for lotus species or types, names of those. So Angel Wings is a type of lotus. And I now have my second city, which is Celestial, because that's also a name for a lotus species. So yes, now I'll probably forget, since we probably won't play this particular game for another 3 months, and then I'll have to go back and try to remember it again. But Krister, how about you?
Well, Calibathian, I'm glad you asked.
Hit me with it, baby. Come on, I've been waiting for this.
Introducing Balrog Bites. Speak, friend, and enter Kristerwick's grand opening as we bridge the chasm between you and the most extreme meat sensation in Middle-earth. The master chefs at Gandalf's Choice Kitchens have delved deep to bring you flavor sensations that will send you back to the shadows. Sourcing only the finest Balrogs, this delicacy is then immersed in high-quality ingredients to produce a fellowship of sophisticated tastes that never before were felt in Middle-earth and available exclusively at Kristerwick's. Not extreme enough for you? All right, pal. Dip it in goo. What is this new devilry? That's right. Kristerwick's offers Captain Blockington's fine dipping goos. Smote your Balrog Bites ruin in a dozen outrageous flavors today. Fly, you fools, to Kristerwick's.
Oh my god!
And here is the ad. I just posted it.
Oh my gosh.
So I'm kind of bummed that Sans isn't here because I named one of the Balrog Bites flavors specifically for her. But I think you guys can figure which one it is, too. So.
I found it. Oh my gosh, this is amazing, Krister.
I told you guys, I drank so much coffee. There's many different ways that I was ashamed of this project. I drank so much coffee. I worked as a barista. I drank so much coffee that night that I'm ashamed of how much coffee I drank that night.
You're used to drinking the spare shots.
My favorite part of this whole thing was when I was coming up with all the logos. Was my favorite little thing was the tagline on Gandalf's Choice, which was, "I have no memory of founding this company."
We need to include this in the show notes so people can see what we're talking about.
Oh yes, it's definitely going to get a place in the show notes.
Yeah, but now
I am sure that Sans is going to avoid the one called Spiders. Lots of spiders.
Free-range, non-GMO.
Yeah, my other thing is, because what's always bothered me in this game is looting filth and goo. I don't understand it. I don't understand why we loot filth. I have never watched a movie where a hero has looted filth and goo off of anybody. Like we were talking about, with the exception of Ghostbusters. Ectoplasm, they got the ectoplasm. But now what I'm doing through this ad is I'm justifying goo and filth. Because, of course, we use goo for dipping goos. We use filth as a garnish, like... So anyway, I had a blast doing this, by the way. This was a lot of fun, doing this little project here.
Kristerwick's Exotic Meats and Mystery Shack, a first-age experience at third-age prices.
Oh, and there's a special. Get 2 scoops of filth on any order for free. Limit 2 scoops per customer.
See, now the filth industry and the goo industry have a justification for existing now. This is why we need to go get that goo and filth. It helps me at least resolve it in my mind. I feel better. So.
Pinky and the Bane.
Well,
Because of
speak
you.
friend and
I had, it was like blame it on the Bane, trains, Banes, and automobiles, snakes on a Bane. In fact, I think you guys might all remember that horrible remake of Twins, where it was Danny DeVito and the Balrog. They didn't need to remake it.
Oh my gosh.
And so, Terry, when you mentioned the inventory issues, I had to laugh because this week I struggled to keep 4 to 5 inventory slots open in Krister's bags. And I was very proud of myself. I got 13 slots cleared. I opened up my Gold Hobbit gift, and I got like 11 stacks of dwarven candles. And I was just like a punch in the face, right? I was literally right after I emptied the inventory, so I was just really, really upset. And non-LOTRO, I started playing Stellaris again. I know you guys have played that, but kind of a real-time space strategy. It's a lot of fun. And then what have you been up to?
Well, it's so hard to follow Krister in these things. Well, in LOTRO, a little bit more seriously in some ways. Hey, actually, Krister, do you still have those dwarf candles? Because I have something you might be able to use them for.
I created, I want to call it like an art piece, because I surrounded, we were going to do scourges, and so I surrounded my whole group with the candle light before we started them.
Oh, I was going to say, if you still had them, bring them on June 27th on Landerval to the Festival of the White Lady. We had a kid meeting, and it's going to be June 27th. The Knights of the White Lady are going to have their Festival of the White Lady, and that usually involves Pride Parade and usually musical groups. Still kind of waiting to hear on who's going to be doing that, but yeah, dwarf candles are great for concerts.
Excellent. Okay.
But anyway, in ESO, thing to first, I had a lot of fun this week running about with Sans on various alts. We just kind of stole some time here and there. And I did throw a house party last weekend after the podcast that turned out a bit deadly. Mostly because I kind of warned them that if you swam out too far, there would be slaughterfish, and the first thing Gray did was hop in and decide to find out how far too far is. Multiple times. He was a little bit bemused when he got an achievement for being eaten alive by basically ESO's version of piranhas. It was a lot of fun having everybody over, and evidently if you have more than 3 people at once in your house, you get an achievement called Party Planner. So, not that it was planned, but it was a lot of fun. Thing the second, and maybe should have been the first or possibly even the only, the Shiny Duo completed Cold Harbor and the main quest before the podcast today. I'm collapsing heap. And Illinois' comment after was like, so we beat the game, right? We're done. He was joking. We got a lot more to do.
Well, yeah,
a lot more we want to do. But
on Tuesday, a new expansion releases.
Oh, I know. Although hopefully on Tuesday, I'm going to get to meet with a member of the LOTRO stream team in real life. That'll be kind of fun. I'll report on that if that happens on the next podcast. Terry, what did you get up to this week?
Not a lot, actually. Sarissa is still getting no love from the treasure hunt because we still can't barter for the horse that she can't get. I did manage to use a couple of those useless dowsing crystals because I had like 21 of the things and like 2 cave claws, so I'm like, fine. So I trudged from site to site, manually using my little dowsing crystals, and I actually managed to uncover the huge cache that way. So that was a thing. You know what it had in it? It had 18 tokens.
Oh.
Yeah. But here's a thought. Why can we not back barter some of the useless stuff that we get? Like the dowsing crystals that nobody seems to use, except, like, I use them maybe once or twice when I remember that I can. But if you're using a dowsing crystal and you get a very weak reading, you're not going to dig the thing up. You're going to try and go to the next one. And I actually prefer cave claws, so I would happily swap in my dowsing crystals for the cave claws, because those suckers are useful. Or the emotes that we've gotten 10 times. I've gotten gold painting like 10 times. I have no more else to use it on because nobody else will use it. So why can't I just barter it back for tokens that I can then barter for, unfortunately not the horse, because I can't barter for the horse. Please let us barter for the horse!
Terry, I think it's time we admit that you have a problem.
I have a problem. And she has... You know, this alt has the treasure goat, so she needs the horse to match. They really need to fix this. So it's due up again in September, and they fixed one of the things that was a huge problem. They fixed the berries. You don't dismount now when you get to berries, so you can actually ride your steed from berry bush to berry bush to berry bush, which is great. Except I still wind up cussing at people because they're still faster on their horses than I am. Yeah, that's literally all I did in LOTRO this week. It's sad. Also, how horrible is it having the treasure hunt on a holiday weekend when everybody is, like, I thought, surely at 3 a.m, nobody would be in the treasure hunt. Nope. That thing was more crowded than it was during the day. What the heck? I need no crowds for my treasure hunt, because I need to be able to let my cave claw go seeking in peace.
Oh, that's when the Australian players are all on, probably.
Probably.
Yep.
And then I am still playing Craft the World, because the most recent update actually tweaked some stuff. Actually, they tweaked the dwarf AI, finally. I mean, they still have a little annoying quirks, but it's not nearly as bad as it was. The dwarves actually do what you tell them to do, without looking at you like, we don't know how to do that.
Without starting a war in 12 easy steps.
Yeah. And I finished out the first world and moved on to the second world, and I was doing so well, not getting my dwarves to turn werewolf because the wolves were actually staying away from my fortress. And then about a half an hour before the podcast, bam, I had like 5 wolves at my door, and now I have 4 dwarves turning werewolf. Lame. And they need to actually make that recipe a little bit more accessible than having to wait until you get alchemy to brew the thing.
Well, can you put them to work at least? I mean,
well, they'll kill other mobs. Like they'll handle the threats that show up during the night while they're werewolves, but then they have to sleep during the day and they get no work done during the day. So I have like 4 dwarves who are great at night to fight things, but they're otherwise completely useless. Also, if they happen to be carrying anything when they turn werewolf, they're still carrying it. So you're basically stuck without that resource until they turn back into regular dwarves. Which
Got
is
the now hiring sign.
And then I also played that old Civ 6 game. This is how old the Civ 6 game was. I wasn't playing Trajan of Rome. I was playing Ambiorix of Gaul and doing a really terrible job. Because I have Rome down to, like, I do this step and this step and this step, and then we have legions all over the map. And first of all, Ambiorix doesn't get legions because he's not Rome. And also, I miss all of the Rome boosts so terribly when I'm not Rome, because you start with a civic building, you start with roads to all your cities automatically. So, and now I have to remember to actually make trade routes to my cities to connect them, and it's like, I don't really want to. Also, it was on a map that Cinders created when she was playing Vietnam, so it's a deliberately wet map, which means there's rainforest everywhere that you have to slog through, and it takes forever. So yeah, definitely not my best game, but not as bad as the one where my Romans weren't near a river and went roaming for 22 turns. So
Romans roaming.
yeah, for 22 turns. Pineleaf, how about you?
I'll begin with my Honor Warden, who reached Hanathanun. So that means that I had a successful search for a lost Mumak and helped to show it a direction where it can go without being slaughtered by rangers or anything like that. Or at least that's what we're hoping as we go through there. And then on the Tuesday group, Terry wasn't available, so Sans and I decided to head out into ESO, where we went into the Alekir Desert and ran several quests over in that direction. And I think we got about 2/3 of the way through the Alekir storyline for that. And as for my main character, I reached the equipment level cap. Actually, I think I was just shy of it after that little trip into the Alekir Desert. I hit the max antiquities rank. I found my first ultimate antiquity. And today, I managed to complete both the botanist and toxicologist achievements in alchemy, because I think over the years I've been wondering, is it even possible to know every single reaction to every single one of those ingredients you have in alchemy? And today I demonstrated, yes, this is what it looks like.
Anything to stay out of Cold Harbor, right?
Anything to stay out of Cold Harbor.
I did notice that there was no mention of Cold Harbor.
Oh, because I had to go back because I was behind in doing stuff in Stormhaven. I had to go back and do those quests, right? Okay, yes, I did not go into Cold Harbor, yes, and I have a feeling it's unlikely I'm going to get there anytime soon, because in a few days,
Blackwood!
We have Blackwood coming out. Well, I guess I have to decide when am I actually going to head into Blackwood. Maybe
I'll tell you when I am. I'm going to head in just enough to start getting some leads, because rumor has it there's some cool antiquities to dig up.
Ooh, yes, there is.
Not to lead you into temptation or anything, but
oh, I have to. Now you're really adding temptation into there. I don't know what I'll do about the storyline, but yes, I've been known to go into zones just for leads.
Maybe delves, if there's any.
Delves?
Yeah.
Well,
a lot of times if you loot or kill mobs in delves, you'll get leads.
Yeah, I guess I have been known to get some of those. I think I do tend to be in a delve when I have a lead drop, now that you mention it.
Pine, are you saying leave, like a leaf on a tree, plural leaves? Leads, like Leads, or
Leads? Leads.
Okay,
They are.
I shook down my informants for a few leads.
Okay,
no,
because I was sitting here going, because he was just talking about, botanist and toxicology stuff, and all of a sudden I'm hearing leaves and weeds and everything except what he was saying. And I was like, he has this tendency to just go off on, in places looking for random weeds. And I'm like, what?
Well, now that you mention it, there was one point today where when I finished botanist, I was then in order to finish botanist, it turned out that I had one less reaction to do, and that reaction required me to have a reaction. There was only one plant. There was only one plant that had this particular item, and the only other thing that had that item to it was on the toxicology side. It was a butterfly wing. So I was literally at one point going around trying to catch butterflies to see if I could get a butterfly. I was just thinking of those crazed Khajiit over at a shrine who were chasing butterflies, because I was going around and I was thinking, where's the best place for me to go to it? Oh, I think for some reason I had a treasure map in the Reach. I thought, okay, I'm going to go to the Reach. The Reach didn't sound like a good place for butterflies, but I'll go there. It turned out that there were butterflies all over the place in the Reach, so I'm going through the Reach, collecting butterflies, trying to find this treasure chest I never did find in the end, because I was too distracted trying to catch butterflies. When I got those butterflies, I said, oh, let's forget about the treasure map. I went back, made the potion, got my botanist title, and then I said, wait, is there something else? Oh, I had one more item in toxicology. It seems like that I really didn't go around attacking mud crabs because I didn't have any.
You didn't have any chitin?
I didn't have any chitin in there. So as I found out, so chitin was the only one left, so I went around killing mud crabs, and once I had a good selection of those, I came back and got the last item.
Now my Templar has consuming trap, the soul trap, one up. Right. So she's providing the household with filled soul gems. But before that, I would go to Artaeum, and whilst doing everything else, would clear the beaches for soul gems.
Well, what I was doing, you're right, that's the other thing I was doing today, because I had some 30 empty soul gems. This is on top of about 100 filled ones. So I was going around there with 30 empty ones. I said, oh, well, I got to get these empty soul gems out of my inventory. So I went all around there and had consuming void inside my main skill bar. And yes, I filled in all those soul gems while I was at it. So you're right. I was doing everything I could, and all that stuff is in one big attempt to avoid Cold Harbor. Oh, well.
Believe me, I understand. Today was rip the bandage day off for me. But anyway.
Oh, I really wish I knew that, and maybe I could have joined you. We could have enjoyed the bandage together. Oh, well. And that's it for my week in gaming. Our top supporter this month is LOTRObuild.com. LOTRObuild.com is a collection of full LOTRO databases, including an items database, a relics database, and a titles database. Also, you can use it right from Discord with a LOTRO Build bot. We currently have 17 supporters on Patreon, and if you'd like to join this illustrious rate of players and help support LOTRO players, you can go to the donations page. You can support the Players Alliance on Patreon. Your money would be used for podcast hosting, website hosting, and to pay for our live shows. We did not receive any emails this week. We feel like since when you can send it to podcast@LOTROplayers.com. You can also follow us at Twitter. Players Alliance at Players Alliance, and LOTRO Players at LOTRO Players, Horrendous at Horrendous, Pineleaf at Pineleaf Needles, Sanswinda at Sanswinda, Terry Edwin at Terry Edwin, Guarendis at Guarendis, and Calibathian at Calibathian, and Krister, who is selling rubber baby Balrog bumpers in Brie.
You did it! Oh!
Wow.
There's nothing worse than a tongue twister red cold.
Well done, Pineleaf. Claps for Pineleaf.
Yay!
The Players Alliance has 2 live shows on Wednesdays at 7 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time. You have DDO Players News, and on Saturdays at 8:30 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time. You have LOTRO Players News. You can join us for our shows at LOTROplayers.com/live. And that's all for tonight. And this is Pineleaf Needles reminding you to skirmish responsibly.